Hi guys, Cat here from back in the saddle again. Haven't done a video for a little while. Thought it's high time that I did one just to highlight a few things that have been coming up for me in my work recently. As many of you know, I am like a rehab specialist now, if you want to call me that. And what seems to be coming up is when I'm working with my own horses at my yard or going to other professionals' yard and working on them for them, is when we're working in rehab, how hard it is for us to deliver the results to the owners that they want in the time frame that they give us. So usually when a horse comes to us, me in particular, I will likely spend, depending on the horse's history, a couple of weeks just assessing the horse to ensure that the skeleton plan that we have on that horse is going to work. So you might have a horse in, some people might say, well, if I've got a blank canvas and I've got a 4 or 5 year old, I can break that in 6 weeks and it will work 5, 6, 7 days a week, maybe twice a day, and we can get this sorted in 6 weeks. Often what happens when you have a horse in for rehab, it won't happen like that, because we need to settle the horse in and we need to check firstly that the horse is going to be capable, whether that's mentally, physically, emotionally. The dietary requirements need to change. Does obviously the basics like handling skills and things like that needs to change. Does tack need to be refitted? Does the horse have to need to be rebitted? Feet need to be taken to barefoot in my work. So we need it a couple of weeks, and usually actually the horses will settle down quite quickly, and I want to get them out working because that is part of the assessment to know if we can hit those targets. And I would usually try and work to a 3-month plan, a minimum of 6 weeks to a 3-month plan. And sometimes the horses might surprise us and come around a lot quicker, or other times things might come up that actually takes it a little bit longer. So if you've got a horse in that is scared of his own shadow, needs to wait for a dentist, needs to have 3 or 4 kind of manual manipulation sessions before it's going to be ready to start doing the groundwork and pole work and leading out or long lining, things like that. We have to really take our time with this, and the reason for this video today is just to explain to owners that as a rehab specialist, it is not straightforward and it's not straight cut, and that's usually why the horses come to us, because sadly work having been done to them or whatever has happened has already set them up on a track that they wouldn't have liked to have chosen. They would have liked to have had the easy life and be pulling the line how we want them to, and often the horse will come to us and it will be like the last chance saloon for this horse. The horse has been dangerous, or it's thrown somebody, or we can't get to the bottom of something. And so I just needed to explain that time is so important, and to us as the owner, we think, well, I can only afford 6 weeks worth of work on this horse. It's got to be done in 6 weeks. And, as a professional, we have to take that on board. But as the owner, you also need to understand that it might not happen like that, because the safety aspect and the idea that I am listening to the horse every day and working with and talking to the horse is much more important than the time constraints or the financial constraints that we've had to put on ourselves or put on those horses. It might not work. So if you have a horse in for rehab, don't forget that we have to unravel all the past doings that have brought the horse to this point before we can then start a normal kind of regime or plan. And unravelling horses' traumas can take weeks, months, sometimes depending on the physical issues as well, maybe up to a year, to get horses where we can see them going forward with an excellent prospect of a great career for them. So So I hope I've made that clear, that what the horse is saying will always take precedent, because we want the horse to go forward with longevity into the career that we're going to put it into. And we also want, as a handler and a rider's point of view, the horse to be ready and safe and able to take on the work that we're going to do to it. And if it's not ready, the time constraints or the financial restraints that you're putting on the horse and the professional has to come second to what the professional is saying, because they're the ones having the conversation with the horse, and that is why they are the professional. And a lot of owners need to realise that we are unravelling other people's past doings to those horses, and that's why they are where they're at. So as the therapist, as the trainer, as the rehab specialist, we don't want to take our time. We want the horse better tomorrow, because we don't want to be dealing with a horse that is insecure, that doesn't want to lead out because it's scared to take off, doesn't want to be ridden, doesn't want to stand at the mounting block, doesn't want to deal with these things, because we have to do it within their time frame to know that they can go forward and go off and do a great job. So yeah, just to explain to you guys that when a horse comes for rehab, it is never clean cut. Every horse is different. I always treat them like my own, and whether that's me going into somebody else's yard or the horse coming into my yard, it's always exactly the same. That the conversation that I have with the horse for safety and longevity must come first. Doesn't mean that we're not going to stick to a plan, and the plan might be, say if it's 6 weeks, every 2 weeks we're going to be looking at that to check that we're on plan and that we continue to carry on that plan, or do things need to be adjusted. So if the horse is in for 3 months, we might be reviewing it every 2 weeks, and then have an owner review every month to say, well, this has happened, that has happened, and in the next month we're going to have to adjust this slightly. We're still aiming on this skeleton plan, but every day is a new day, and every day we're building on what has happened before. And say the unravelling of other people's doings is not now the horse's fault or the professional's fault. And that's why that has to come first. So yeah, I just wanted to reiterate, really, when there's horses coming in, we've got to deal with what's in front of us, and that's why they're there with us, because they've obviously got themselves in a pickle, and that's why they're with us. So yeah, I hope that makes sense, and any questions, give us a shout. Onwards.